The reduction Linocut process involves a number of colour overprints made from a single block, with more of the block being cut away for each overprinted colour. This suite of progressive prints demonstrates each colour printed separately, and then the colours combined with one colour being added one at a time in the order in which they are to be printed. When working with more than one colour, it's important to plan the colour scheme carefully. For my reduction print of myself, the first colour to be gouged out was white, with the pink being printed over the rest of the image, leaving the white paper where the block had been cut away. The second stage was to gouge out the areas to remain pink and print the rest of the image in red. I then removed all the areas to remain red and printed the rest in a shade of dark red. When printing with layers, care has to be taken, ensuring the previous colours are quite dry before printing the next colour on top of them. The colours are all opaque, although when printing a darker colour over a lighter colour, I still had to repeat the printing a few times. To avoid disappointment, just make more prints than you need so that each one isn't as precious. First, sketch your portrait on a piece of A5 paper. I use the grid method to create a simplified line drawing of myself from a photograph. When you draw directly onto a piece of lino, it will be printed as a mirror image of your drawing. To avoid this from happening, I scanned my drawing into my computer, traced around the image in Procreate and reversed the image in the same program. By turning my picture into a 4-tone image, I was able to plan which areas needed to be carved and printed for each layer. Once your sketch is ready, transfer it onto the linoleum block. You can do this by rubbing the back of your drawing with graphite and then tracing over it onto the lino, or use transfer paper. Fix it into place with a piece of masking tape. Go over your pencil lines with a biro pen to transfer them onto your lino. Flip the paper away to check if the lines have transferred onto the surface. Go over your pencil drawing with a thick marker pen. This is worth doing as the lines can be rubbed away by your hand during the carving stage. Create your own registration sheet to identify where the block needs to sit to ensure the image is registered correctly. Small strips of cardboard, no taller than the block, can be stuck onto a larger piece of cardboard to create wedges that hold the block in the right place. If your registration sheet is accurate, the image on the second cut of the block will line up correctly with the first printed layer so that both colours sit together in the final print. By drawing areas of tone that I want to appear as white, I will know where I need to carve. For my reduction print of myself, the first colour to be gouged out was white, with the pink being printed over the rest of the image, leaving the white paper where the block had been cut away. Whilst you cannot see me doing it on this video, do not forget to shade in the white of your eyes. If you forget to shade the white of your eyes, you will forget to cut it out, and it will be printed as a colour. The wooden bench hook is a versatile wooden board that holds your linoleum as you cut out an image. It can also keep your lino chippings all in one place, keeping the mess to a minimum. Place your lino so it is pressed into the wooden bench hook. Tuck yourself in so your belly is pressed up against the wooden bench hook. A lino cutter tool is to be held comfortably with the handle in the palm of the hand, whilst the index finger guides from the top. Lino cutters are very sharp, so to avoid cutting yourself, always carve away from your hands and away from your body. The angle you hold the tool at will determine whether the cutting tip moves forward in a level way as you cut into your lino. Lower your wrist slightly to bring the cutting tip up. Raise your wrist slightly to make the angle of your cutter steeper, and the tool will go deeper into the lino. Take some time to find the right angle. Carve along the edges of the design, focusing on the side of the tool that is against the edge. It's always easiest to do the edges first and then clear away the bit next to it. Gentle curves can be made by moving your wrist or arm left and right as you cut forwards. Rotate the block as you cut, keeping your cutting hand steady. Lean into the tool and push the block against it with your other hand, being careful not to cut towards your fingers. Set up your printing area in an organized way and try to keep the ink in one place. Spread the ink to the width of your ink roller. This is your ink reservoir for dipping the roller into when you need more ink. Dip the roller into the ink reservoir and start rolling it out in the space below. Move the ink roller forward with slight downward pressure, then lift it back to the start and repeat. This will roll the ink out faster than going backwards and forth. If there is too much ink on the roller, it will take on an orange peel texture. If this is the case, remove excess ink from the slab and roll it out again. There should be a slight texture to the ink, like sandpaper. Once you have an even layer of ink on the roller, roll it onto your block to transfer the ink. Try to roll in straight lines, covering the whole surface evenly. Roll in different directions to reach all the corners and edges. Recharge the roller with more ink as needed. Check the ink coverage by looking at the surface in the light. The first time you ink a block, you can see if you've missed any areas, but after that, the block will be stained and it's harder to see. Place your inked block into position using the registration sheet to identify where the block should sit in relation to the paper. Position the print paper over the lino. Make a test print to check if the chattering has been successfully removed. Lift the paper to reveal the print. Chattering refers to the unwanted, rough texture that can appear on the surface of your lino block after carving. Removing chattering can take a bit of time and patience, but the results are worth it for a clean, professional-looking print. If needed, repeat the carving process until you achieve an even surface. Reapply ink to the block. Place your inked block into position using the registration sheet to identify where the block should sit in relation to the paper. Make a test print to check if the chattering has been successfully removed. Clear away and spray ink and lower the paper back onto the block. Fix it into place with a piece of masking tape. Roll over the back of your printer paper with your ink roller, holding the paper with one hand so it doesn't move. All the colours are opaque, but I needed to reprint each colour a few times to make them bold and solid. Lift the paper to reveal the print. All the colours are opaque, but I needed to reprint each colour a few times to make them bold and solid. Wipe away any stray ink from the non-printing areas of the block with a dry piece of material. It will look worse after you have wiped it, but don't worry, it should stop the ink transferring to the paper when you print. I produced 6 prints with the pink ink. Wipe away any stray ink from the non-printing areas of the block with a dry piece of material. It will look worse after you have wiped it, but don't worry, it should stop the ink transferring to the paper when you print. My last print was one I intended to keep for my suite of progressive prints. The second stage was to gouge out the areas to remain pink and print the rest of the image in red. My last print was one I intended to keep for my suite of progressive prints. For the last stage, I then removed all the areas to remain red and printed the rest in a shade of dark red. My last print was one I intended to keep for my suite of progressive prints.